Here we go.
What do you want? If you could have anything in the world, or if you could be anything in the world, what would you want to have? What would you want to be? We've been talking about Samuel and how he has been a priest and a judge of Israel. Well, the Israelites come to Samuel and say, we don't want a priest or a judge to be over us anymore. We want a king. And Samuel was very upset about this. And he went and he prayed to the Lord about it. And let's read how the Lord responded to this. In 1 Samuel chapter 8, verses 4 through 9. 1 Samuel chapter 8, verses 4 through 9. It says, Then all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah, and said to him, Behold, you are old, and your sons do not walk in your ways. Now appoint for us a king to judge us like all the nations. But this thing displeased Samuel when they said, Give us a king to judge us. And Samuel prayed to the Lord, and the Lord said to Samuel, Obey the voice of the people and all they say to you, for they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me from being king over them. According to all the deeds that they have done from this day, forsaking me and serving other gods, so they are also doing to you. Now then, obey their voice. Only you shall solemnly warn them and show them the ways of the king who shall reign over them. Samuel's very upset about them wanting a king to rule over them or to judge them, rather than having a priest to judge them, because Samuel was a priest and now they wanted a king. And so he prays to the Lord, and the Lord responds, Do what they're asking, because they're rejecting me. They're not rejecting you. They're rejecting me the same way they've rejected me through their whole history. They just keep rejecting me. And he says, but also warn them what a king will be like, how it will be like to have a king rule over them. And then Samuel goes to the people and he says, if you have a king, you may be drafted into an army, or you may be forced to plow his fields instead of your own, or he may take all the best fields for himself, or you may have to pay him taxes or a 10%. He may take your slaves or your cattle or your donkeys, or he may make you his slaves. This doesn't sound like a good thing, to have a man rule over them as a king. But how do you think the people responded? Let's read in 1 Samuel chapter 8, verses 19 through 20. In 1 Samuel chapter 8, verses 19 through 20, it says, But the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel. And they said, No, there shall be a king over us, that we may also be like all the nations, and that our king may judge us and go out before us and fight our battles. What did they want? A king. Why did they want it? So that they could be like everybody else. We started out asking, what do you want? Are the things that you want reflecting of you wanting to be like Jesus, or you wanting to be like the people around you? What is it that you want? Is your heart's desire to be like Jesus? Or is your heart's desire to be like people around you, or at least to be liked by the people around you? Samuel did what the people asked, and he anointed the first king of Israel, whose name was Saul. And at the very beginning of Saul's reign, it said that he was filled with the Spirit of the Lord, or the Spirit of the Lord was with him. And then he goes, and one of the first things he does is he frees some of his fellow Israelites who lived in Jabesh Gilead. And then he also fought against the Philistines. I know, we're still fighting against the Philistines. Samson fought against them, and Samuel's fought against them, and they're still fighting against the Philistines. And so they're fighting, and it's not going well. And so Saul wants to offer some burnt offerings to the Lord so that it will go better. But priests offer sacrifices, and Saul is not a priest. He's from the tribe of Benjamin, which means he's not a Levite, which means he's not a priest. So Samuel is on his way to where they're fighting, which is Gilead, and it's taking longer than Saul wants it to take. It's about 7, so he said, I'll be there in 7 days, but it's been 7 days and he's still not there, and so Saul's like, forget this. My men are hiding and they're running away and they're not doing well, and we're scared and we're hiding out here. Our battle's not going well. Just give me the sacrifices and I will offer them. Let's read 1 Samuel 13, verses 9 through 14. 1 Samuel 13, verses 9 through 14. So Saul said, bring the burnt offering here to me and the peace offerings. And he offered the burnt offering. As soon as he had finished offering the burnt offering, behold, Samuel came. And Saul went out to meet him and greet him. And Samuel said, what have you done? And Saul said, when I saw that the people were scattering from me, and that you did not come within the days appointed, and that the Philistines had mustered at Michmash, I said, now the Philistines will come down against me at Gilgal, and I have not sought the favor of the Lord. So I forced myself and offered the burnt offering. And Samuel said to Saul, you have done foolishly. You have not kept the command of the Lord your God, with which he commanded you. For then the Lord would have established your kingdom over Israel forever. But now your kingdom shall not continue. The Lord has sought out a man after his own heart, and the Lord has commanded him to be prince over his people, because you have not kept what the Lord commanded you. Saul got tired of waiting, and so he took it on himself to do something, instead of waiting on Samuel and waiting on the Lord. Do we get impatient? Do we get tired of waiting on the things that we're praying for? Do we try to take back control from the Lord and say, never mind, I'll do it? I once heard someone say, if you're going to pray, don't worry. But if you're going to worry, don't pray. If we're praying about something, we let it go. We let it go and let the Lord take over. Are we patient? The story last week, the Lord went with the Ark of the Covenant and brought it back to his people, and the people did nothing. He was working. Do we wait and let the Lord work in our lives? Saul did not do that. And did you see how Samuel responded? He said, you have done foolishly. How foolish it is for us to not be patient and wait on the Lord. But how often are we impatient? I know sometimes I am. And I bet a lot of you are too. And Samuel says it's foolish. Then he says, your kingdom will end because of this. And that doesn't mean that Saul right then stops being king. It means that his sons after him will not become king. So if you continue reading the story of Saul, you see that he also disobeyed the Lord in how to deal with the enemies of Israel. And then he makes an excuse and says, but I was going to sacrifice to the Lord. And Samuel responds that the Lord would rather have obedience than burnt offerings or sacrifices. Do we do what the Lord wants? Do we do what the Lord wants the way the Lord wants us to do it? The Lord is Lord of our lives, which means he has the right to tell us what to do, and he has the right to tell us how to do it. Do we listen to him? Do we obey him? Do we prefer to do what we want to do the way we want to do it? rather than what the Lord wants us to do the way He wants us to do it? What do you want? Do you want to serve the Lord? Or do you want to bring glory to yourselves? I pray this week that our will surrender to the will of our fathers, that we will want above everything else what the Lord wants for us, because He loves us so much, and He wants the very best for us.